My background, I had spent more than 28 years with the National Toxicology Program at the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences. I also was a participant on more than 70 chemical evaluations by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. This is an agency of the World Health Organization that classifies chemicals in terms of their carcinogenicity in relationship to humans. In 2011, I was at the IARC evaluation of mobile phone radiation, radio frequency radiation, when it was classified as a possible human carcinogen. At that time, the data were strongest for humans because there were multiple studies demonstrating increases in gliomas of the brain, as well as acoustic neuromas in human studies. The animal studies were weak at the time. Since that time, the National Toxicology Program conducted a major study, very large study, which demonstrated clear evidence of carcinogenicity in rats with the increase in incidence of heart schwannomas. There was also some evidence for increase in gliomas. Shortly after the NTP study was published, the Ramazzini Institute published a study which confirmed the findings of the National Toxicology Program. This information was not available in 2011 when IARC made their classification on radiofrequency radiation. But it was available now in this WHO systematic review, and the reviewers, based on all of the information from 50 plus studies, came to the conclusion that there was high certainty on the relationship between exposure to radiofrequency radiation and the increased incidence of heart schwannomas and glial cell tumors or gliomas. With respect to the use of animal studies are used as a predictor of human risk, and this has been going on since at least before 1980. Public health agencies make use of animal studies to estimate the risk to humans and set exposure limits that would be protective of human health. Part of the reason for this is that every agent that has been identified as a human carcinogen is also carcinogenic in animals when adequately tested. Because there has been a lot of I wouldn't even say controversy, rollback against the NTP study and the Ramazzini study, it is important that now the WHO, World Health Organization, has come to the conclusion that there is high certainty on this risk. And this then lends so much more importance for the policymakers to now develop exposure limits that will be protective of human health, especially with respect to cancer risk. In summary, the evidence is clear from the studies that have been performed and now the review that was commissioned by the World Health Organization that cell phone radiation can cause cancer in animals, and the types of cancers that occur are those that are in concordance with tumors that have been identified in human studies of mobile phone or cell phone users. The confirmation now by the WHO that exposure to radiofrequency radiation is linked to the induction of at least two different types of tumors in animals requires that there be a science-based standard for human exposure. Current exposure limits are based on the assumption that the only adverse effect that could happen is through heating. And that assumption, I think, has been proven wrong from the multiple studies that are showing adverse effects at levels below a threshold heating effect.